Welcome back to Oberhof. The crowd starting to swell as we prepare for the start of the second race, the men's pursuit over 15 kilometres. And just like the women's, the start order determined by the results from yesterday's prologue. So Petter Northug of Norway will start first. He's got an 11-second lead over Marcus Hellner. Alexander Legkov goes third for Russia. And then Dario Colonia, the champion of the Tour de Ski, will be starting fourth. Chance just to have a look at the surrounding area. Beautiful summer facilities and a training mecca for athletes across the world, as well as a popular site for international tourists.
Oberhof, it used to be the holiday region in the old Eastern Bloc days, but so many teams using it for their winter sports preparation. The biathlon coming here next week as well from Thursday with the women's relay. And today, well, what, some 7,000 spectators for the cross country, but we're going to see over 40,000 next week for the biathlon, more known as a biathlon mecca than the cross country. But the tracks, there's up to 400 kilometers of tracks to train on in this region. Well, the body of a cross-country skier just after his warm-up, or after the athletes warm-up, they've been out sprinting, skiing up to 5, 6, even more kilometers. Now getting dry kit on because they're going to be standing around, getting onto the grid before the start. So very important to keep warm.
You are 11 seconds ahead of Marcus Hellner. What's the plan for today?
For me, the plan is to find the right speed at the start, and yeah, I'm going to find the speed that I knew it's going to cost a little bit for Marcus and Legkov to catch me. So that's my plan, and I know that the group with Dario in front there will attack and go fast the first round. So I think they will be already on my back skis after the first lap. So then it's to find the right position there and hopefully have some power left at the end.
Thank you very much, and good luck for the competition.
Thank you.
Well, he was brief, short, honest, I think. Very, very good tactics, Mike. I think you would have predicted that. Work hard enough to make Dario Colonia work like a Trojan to catch him, and that because you've got to take something out of Colonia, you've got to take something out of the other men chasing him, like Marcus Hellner, and then make sure he saves enough for that final lap. If he goes too hard on the first loop, he's going to find he won't have that sprint left.
He was as you say, he was very brief about it, but he's clearly given it a lot of thought. He does want to hurt them on the first rotation so that they are more fatigued, but for him, he doesn't really want it to turn slow at any point. He wants to hurt them and keep them hurting with that slight advantage that he has ahead of them. But they will catch him without a doubt.
5 times round the 3-kilometre loop, so they'll know this track pretty well, considering they raced on it yesterday. They've been training on it now for 3 days, and with the snow conditions they had, I think they'll be quite glad to head down to Europe. But in fact, everywhere having pretty much the same conditions at the moment, and thank goodness we had a good snowfall just before the Christmas break. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the start of the men's 50.
Welcome back to Oberhof. The final stages of the athletes' preparation before they get on the grid and set off in the time in which they were behind in the prologue yesterday. So Petter Northug leading out by 11 seconds ahead of Marcus Hellner, and Legkov at 17.2 seconds behind. There's Muzzy, Andrew Musgrave, and left off picture. Really hope and believe he's going to get himself back into it today. A little disappointed yesterday, they weren't quite his conditions for skating, very soft, wet conditions. But today's a new day and very different in the classic technique.
Well, at least we can see something today. Yesterday the fog was so thick that you couldn't even see halfway across the stadium. We'll run down some of the big names, those who you need to watch out for. You know about the top 3, Northug, Hellner and Legkov. They go 1, 2 and 3 and have a slight advantage. This is Legkov, just looking at yesterday's pictures. Dario Colonia, the champion, 3 times, starts number 4, and he's 25 seconds down on Petter Northug. Now, Cologne is the man that Northug is concerned about, really, Mike, in terms of winning the overall Tour de Ski. 25 seconds, he can certainly make him hurt on those first 2 laps.
It's a huge margin in the men's field to pull back. There's 40 people within 25 seconds of each other, so it is a huge margin, really, that he has ahead of Cologne.
Number 6 is going to be Alex Harvey, Canada's top dog at the moment. And nice to see that Alex is coming into some sort of form after a relatively slow start to the season. Martin Jacks goes 7th for the Czech Republic. Certainly need to keep an eye on him. Emil Jonsson, the great sprinter, if he can get a reasonable result today, he should be able to win the sprint in 2 days' time. And that will put him into a strong position. The profile of the course, well, you know all about the big climb. Where the number 1 is on your caption at the moment, that's where the intermediate time was in the prologue yesterday, and then an undulating course back towards the stadium. But the finish is deceptively hard. It looks flat, but it's just a gradual climb into that finish area. So if you've overcooked it in the first couple of laps, you really do pay later on in the race.
I think the fact that the final 200-300 metres, well, yesterday it was into a very strong headwind. Today it's slightly better, but it seems to go on forever, this home straight. And when I was racing here in the biathlon, it's one of the most punishing finishes.
Well, there he is, the great man himself, Petter Northug. He may not be everyone's best mate, but my goodness, is he an attraction when it comes to cross-country skiing. He's brought the sport to life. Marcus Hellner there, sort of steady Eddie. He produces some flashes of brilliance, and often at the major championships he could do something. The Russians are here in numbers. We've got Ledkov going 3, Chernozov going number 5, Vlichanin going number 8, and then Yaparov goes off number 12, and all of those men starting within 30 seconds of the leader, Petter Northug. So the Russians could team up. They could have decided to do some teamwork on the way round. We'll see how things go. Nice mix of nationalities in the leading groups. Good to see that the Czechs have 2 representatives with Jacks and Razim further down the order. There's Toby Angra. I think he will have been a bit disappointed yesterday, Mike, on that short prologue. 24th position at the moment.
Yes, and well, that's 39 seconds behind for Angra.
Nicholas Dyrhaug of Norway, number 38. Apologies to him for getting the pronunciation of his name wrong over the last couple of weeks. I think we've done it for 2 or 3 seasons. But and Andrew Musgrave down in 65th position, and still it doesn't sound too good, but he's only a minute or so off the pace of the leaders, and so Musgrave should be able to qualify comfortably to continue the tour beyond phase 2.
I think so, and working right alongside him is Andrew Young as well, so they will be able to work together, the two Brits, the 2 Scots lads, to try and pull some time back.
The countdown about to start. Petter Northug fairly fired up and away he goes. It's only an 11-second margin, but he's not going to start slowly. He said in the pre-race interview that he will make the rest work to catch him, and that's exactly what he looks as though he intends. Marcus Hellner goes for Sweden, wanting to get onto the shoulder of the Norwegian as soon as possible. Alexander Ledkov, he's quick, he's powerful, he's got a very good finish. He could be dangerous today, but no one will be more dangerous than Dario Cologne. The margin is only 25 seconds between himself and Petter Northug, and that really is the major jewel. And then the masses get underway. Harvey, Jacks, Vlichanin, Razim, Pearl, Hopper, Yarapov, Jonsson, Dicenta, all on the tracks already, and the chase is on. Well, you'll be able to pick out, perhaps not individual athletes, but you'll certainly pick out the suits. This is the suit of the Norwegian team. And the first big climb for Petter Northug. The ski preparation will prove crucial today, and there's no doubt that Justyna Kowalczyk had better skis on than anyone else in the women's race. Unfortunately for the Poles, they don't have a man of the calibre of Kowalczyk.
Look in the background there, Patrick. Legkov, I think he's going to try and keep this pace. He's going to try and close Northug down before the first of the 3-kilometre rotations. And maybe, if he rests him behind Northug for a short while, he might try and take the initiative and create some kind of lead early on.
Northug's skis certainly gripping quite well, Mike. You see, as soon as he applies the pressure, the downward pressure, the skis coming to an abrupt halt as the wax grips. Everyone racing on Clister today, incidentally. I haven't seen anyone with waxless skis. No one with stick wax at all. It just won't work in these conditions. And it looks as though the margins have closed just a fraction. Let's keep an eye on the times. 11.1 was the margin between Northug and Hellner. There's Colonia doing good work. He started a full 8 seconds down on Alexander Legkov. Might not have gained on the Russian, but he certainly gained on Marcus Hellner. So from 11 seconds, the margin now 13. And Legkov, who started 17 behind, he's got to 13 as well. So he's making ground. Colonia's gone from 25 to 18. So has Chernozov. Alex Harvey from 26 to 21. And so in those early stages, first just over a kilometre completed, they've done exceptionally well.
They have, and I think an indication that Northug is playing comfortably so far. He won't slow it down anymore. He'll still try and keep the pressure on so that they do have to chase and work hard to pull his advantage back. I think one we have to watch for today as well is Lukas Bauer. We know how good he is on his best form, and I've certainly heard that his best form is coming back.
Nice slow-mo shot of Petter Northug. He's relaxed. Still skiing fast, but he's definitely more relaxed than those in the main pack.
Yes, look at his baskets today at the end of the ski poles, Patrick. They're huge today. Normally they're at least half that size and very sensible. They're going for the widest ski basket possible because the snow is so soft. The
only disadvantage of that is it increases the chance of someone else skiing over the basket when it comes to those crucial sprint finishes, and we're expecting a fairly busy sprint finish today. Round that left-hander.
That didn't look neat.
Yeah, I mean, a fall could be absolutely catastrophic today, certainly if someone falls at the front of the pack, and we can expect 1 or 2 problems because the conditions are getting tougher and tougher as the snow gets softer and more cut up. Now, as he comes towards the end of the first lap, we may see Northug just push the pace. Legkov's already closing that down. That's happening very, very fast indeed.
Look at Legkov, bib number 3, and he's slowly getting some help there from his teammate Lejanin.
Well, I'm not sure that Petter Northug has gone off quite as hard as you would have predicted, Mike. There's Kurdin Pearl, number 10, making ground. You spoke about Lukas Bauer, his teammate Martin Jaks wearing 7, and then Alice Razim, also from the Czech Republic, wearing 9. Still no sign of Lukas Bauer. He started wearing number 18. Maybe you picked him out of the group there. Well, we're just hearing rather disappointing news that Germany's Axel Teichmann, who won this race last year incidentally, has not started today. He looked okay in the prologue yesterday.
He looked good, but we did hear him at the end of that prologue. He was coughing for a full 5 minutes afterwards, so clearly a chest problem.
Yeah, maybe he's joined the millions that have suffered over the Christmas period. Welcome back to Oberhof. All sorts of developments while we've been away. You will have noticed that the race leader is no longer the race leader. Petter Northug's dropped back into 5th position, and Dario Colonia, who started 25 seconds off the lead, is already into pole position with a positive start. And Mike, has Northug made the rest work hard enough to catch him?
I thought he would try and push it all the way through till at least 3 kilometres. It is a 15-kilometre race, so we've got a long way to go. But I thought, and based on his interview as well, that he would try and keep them hurting, certainly for at least the first 10 minutes, but he only lasted 6 minutes. Just a little less, 5.5 minutes. But the chasing pack were so eager to get up. They have to now, Patrick, I think, work it out. Do they keep this momentum to prevent themselves being absorbed by this next massive group behind them? It's a huge group. It's better for their chances to keep away from the chasing pack, I think. To give space, especially on that long downhill, there will be falls, I'm quite sure.
So in this leading group, you can see the Russians. We've got Ledkov, Chernozov and Viligzhanin in there. Nortuk back out in front after finding some good snow to double pole on through the stadium. Colonia happy to sit in second place. And I think the more Nortuk can control the place, the better it will be for him. We've got number 6, I think that's Alex Harvey. It is Alex Harvey there for Canada. Good to see him. And then, of course, Sweden's number 1, Marcus Hellner, at the back of that leading group. And they've got a margin. We'll tell you in a moment. We'll tell you exactly the time between the first group and the second group. And we'll see whether they're making gains. The latest we had, it is around 10 seconds.
Most interesting one for me, athlete who's improved, is Matti Häkkinen. I think I'm right in, yes, his bib, 29. He's up into 7th place. That's a huge amount of effort, 40 seconds to pull back.
40 seconds gain, so keep an eye on him as the race goes on. Other big gains, well, I can tell you that David Hofer of Italy has dropped down the order. He's dropped down from 11th down to 38th position. Not a bad run so far from Kalle Halvarsson of Sweden, Mike. He's got to within 13 seconds of the leader, having started 36 behind, so he's made good ground.
It's amazing the respect that the athletes around Nortuk give to Nortuk. As soon as they caught him up, they all backed off with the chase, with the pace. Nortuk then took the initiative again, and he sped it up through the stadium. But it's gone slow. It's gone very slow.
Nortuk's skis don't look to be gripping that well, to be honest, and he's very quick through the stadium. So I think he's gone a little light maybe on the wax. And these are the tactics we saw from him in the men's 50 at the World Championships in Oslo, Mike. Take the uphills as steady as you can, and to achieve that, he'll try and get into the front of the pack before the bottom of the downhill, before the bottom of the climb, and then he'll just ease back and he'll be at the back of the group at the top of the climb. He has therefore expended less energy than anyone else on the uphills, and he'll gain his ground on the downhills and the flat, where it's much easier to do so.
He is an amazing athlete, and I think that Nortuk got it back now with the lead group. He doesn't mind if he's absorbed by this chasing pack, because his strategies are always just a little sharper than the rest of the best.
So from a 10-second margin, we now have, well, we're still at around 10 seconds. Razim is sitting 10.5 seconds in front of the man ahead of him. So no real change there. But I guess you could say that the numbers in that chasing group are swelling as this race goes on. Number 31, that's, there must have been 21, I think, going through. Andrew Newell for USA. 72 is Lukas Burgel. 77 there is Artem Zhmerko of Russia. And the man on your screen, of course, Dario Colonia, the man from Mustère. And for a number of years now, Switzerland's number 1, the world number 1. Despite the fact that Colonia's won this 3 times, Mike, I was slightly surprised by how fired up he gets by the Tour de Ski. For him, it seems to be the highlight of the season.
He's got, you mentioned earlier, he's got that personality there where he's calm, he doesn't alter his pace too much. It really is the test, and this was where the Tour de Ski, well, evolved. It was who is the best all-round cross-country skier at this time, at this moment. And the sprints, the distance races, the intensity of this Tour de Ski, I think it does really find out the best, and that's where Colonia so often has put himself to the top and made sure that his form is good and ready for this.
Well, now it's the turn of the Russians to set the pace at the front of the field after that little slow-mo extravaganza. Nice to see Alex Harvey still in there. Surprised to see that Marcus Hellner is dropping off the pace, just a fraction, but 4 or 5 metres are very, very difficult to close, and I'm wondering whether he's got problems with the skis. We've seen him slip on the right-hand side a number of occasions, and he's having to go into the herringbone very, very early on the climb.
It was almost as if he was running there, Patrick, so he was trying to get more force through the base of the ski to get the grip on that, well, not the steepest of climbs, so such a pity. I know he struggled with cold temperatures up in Yelivara for the last couple of weeks in his training, and that does slow your limb speed. You lose a little bit of speed in terms of absolute racing.
Well, we haven't really mentioned a man who you've backed in the past, Matti Heikkinen.
I always thought today, we've seen him in this race in the past do amazing things. He loves the classic technique. He loves being involved in a chase. He's made his chase already, that 40-second gain, and I think he's a real threat for this one.
Yeah, Heikkinen there wearing 29, and he was 40-1 to win today. For those of you interested in that sort of thing.
I think the Russians now, it's Biljanin at the front, the two training partners, Legkov and Chernusov, they spent 3.5 weeks in Australia, putting in over 1,000 kilometers of skiing in August. That to improve their technique, that was the sole purpose of going over there. I think they're going to try and keep this pace very strong.
Well, coming up towards the top of the second climb, Petter Northug says, I'll just take it easy. He's a cheek, isn't he? And even when he walks, he doesn't lose too much time to the rest of the group. Astonishing man. And now he'll put in a couple of his trademark double poling actions just to get himself back onto the back of that group. And he'll slowly work his way to the front again, look for some fast snow, and hopefully not have to do too much on the next uphill climb. A check of the pulse watches there from the two Russians out front. Both Russians almost together, just seeing at the intensities that they can hold, that they can maintain. And I think they're ready for another attack soon. Look at Northug. This snow is horrible to dance your way, run your way up this, and it'll make it difficult, Patrick, for the final sprint. Biljanin really is keeping the pressure on. Unlike last year, where the leader had to work a little bit harder than everyone else because of the fresh snowfall that went on throughout the race. No real disadvantage being out in front. In fact, some people like it because you can ski in your own rhythm and you can choose your own track. So, through the stadium for the second time. They have another 3 laps to go. And the chasing group do not seem to have got any closer. They're just about to swallow up Marcus Hellner, who's been struggling with the skis. Even on a race this short, Mike, is it worth stopping, putting a bit of clister on and getting going again? If it's that bad, I really think it is. You have to do it yourself. Technicians can pass you the wax, but you cannot allow them to put it on themselves. So you have to do it yourself. If it's that bad, yes, there could be some benefit gained. I think this was very intelligent of the lead pack. They saw 1 or 3 kilometers ago that the chasing huge group was nearly on them, and they've kept it strong since then. Bit of skating around the corner, that's fine, that's legal. Legkov for me is one of the toughest. I remember when he won his first World Cup in La Clusaz, he'd just come off a bad car accident. He'd a broken nose, sore heads, and he went on to win that race through pain, and he really can push himself hard. Yeah, there are a number of occasions when that sort of thing has happened. I remember Thomas Wasberg driving off a road on the way to a race, having to lift the car back onto the tracks. He arrives with about 8 seconds to go before the gun goes off and wins it by a country mile. You sort of get fired up and you become superhuman temporarily. Well, the margin between the leading group and the chasing group is still hovering around 10.5 seconds. The only change on those last 3 kilometres was the fact that we lost one, and that was Marcus Hellner, Sweden's only chance of winning today. Now we see another little burst coming in from Alexander Legkov, the man from Kyanty-Manzijsk, which is one of the venues used by the Biathlon World Cup Tour out in the middle of Siberia. there's not a huge amount of skiing there. The city of Chianti-Manzese, Mike, is basically built on the top of a mountain, surrounded by millions of square kilometres of marshland.
It's an incredible place. Well, you say a mountain, yes, it appears to be a mountain on all that marshland, but it's only got an elevation of 150 metres, and as you say, 1,000 kilometres to the sea.
And limited, there's certainly no easy skiing there in Chianti-Manzese, but they do have money, and they have some fabulous facilities.
Oil money has, and it's been like a magnet to the best biathletes and cross-country skiers. It's brought all the expertise there. And look at this move from Ledkov. Can he take the pain, the discomfort, and get rid of them by a sensible, a decent margin? 4 seconds simply isn't enough at this moment. Well, with that little break, we have to consider whether Ledkov is a potential winner of the Tour de Ski. It was a good race yesterday in the freestyle, so his skating's obviously on form. He's not bad over the shorter distances. We've seen that before, and so he won't lose too much ground in the skating. There's Lukas Bauer, who you picked up earlier, Mike, going through number 18. He's got himself up into number 9, so he's gained 9 places already, having started 36 seconds off the pace of the leader. So he's having a good race. Angera also making ground for Germany, up into 16th position, having started 24th. And number 48, that was Devon Kershaw of Canada. Really disappointed with his run yesterday, Kershaw. And he's starting to pull back a few places now. From 48, he's got himself into 22nd, so a much better day. Any news on the British athletes? I know we're having a few problems with the... After the first 3 kilometres, certainly Andrew Young was just slightly ahead of Musgrave at 1 minute 11 seconds down, and they started 35 seconds behind, so losing just over 30 seconds to the leaders.
I never know if it's the colour of the suit that makes the Russians look big and strong, and Daria Colonia look waif-like. Black always makes you look thinner, doesn't it?
That's so to say.
I wondered why you always wore it.
I was waiting for that one. But it's definitely with intent. Ledkov has gone to the front. Whether he can, is he strong enough to take it from this far out to the finish line? It would be incredible. Or is he just wanting safety and space to come down this fast descent?
Well, it's certainly worth being in a good position. Northug has dropped off the pace considerably, probably wanting a little bit of free space as well. He's back in touch by the time they start the climb, and this time he's going to have to work just that little bit harder to stay with the pace. His skis seem to be working a fraction better. Just looking at the conditions, the temperature has dropped half a degree since the start of the race, so that could be making all the difference that the Norwegians require for Northug's skis to work throughout. Russia certainly don't seem to have had any problems with the skis. Good on the uphill, fast on the downhill, and hence we have 3 of them up there in that leading group. And there's no doubt to me, Mike, that they agreed to work together.
It looks like it's how do you break Northug? Maybe you have to try and do it together. We've seen the French try and do this in the 50-kilometre, although that was freestyle in Oslo at the World Champs.
Well, if we have 3 Russians who can create a roadblock on the final lap, certainly that would be effective.
It would, going round that final right-hander, take the 2 inside lanes, it would help. But Northug, as you said, his upper body strength is phenomenal. And look how he reads the track better than most. He moves himself into the right place at the right time, and he goes from last to, well, moving up 2 or 3 places. It looks easy for Northug.
Yeah, he's taking the shortest route. You only have to think of an athletics track and the stagger that you get in a 200-metre race. How much time you gain by going on the inside of the turn.
Northug, he's just looking like he's having fun. He's playing around with the pace. Ledkov at the front is beautiful technique. His reach up into the hill, and each time he throws his foot forward, and the compression through the ski, it's incredible technique.
Well, Heikkinen's made no mistake. Alex Harvey is looking in better shape than he has done all season. Don't be surprised to see the Canadian there. He's a real talent, and I think his year will come where major titles come his way. He's already won junior world titles, and of course the son of Pierre Harvey, who was at his prime back in 1988.
Northug's definitely slipping a little, but it's soft and mushy snow, so your wax doesn't compress easily. in these harder tracks, it compresses directly onto the packed snow, so you get grip instantly. On the soft, mushy stuff, it's difficult to get grip.
What's your opinion of the North Americans? I mean, if you go back a few decades, you come back to Bill Koch, who I think can still argue to have been the best of the Americans have ever had. But there's no doubt that in the last 4 or 5 seasons, and I'm sure that Vancouver was a boost for the Canadians and the Americans, what's the reason for their rise? Look at Keegan Randall in the women's. Look at Alex Harvey here in the men's, and the Americans have some good sprinters in the men's event as well.
Yeah, they've had momentum. I mean, of course, Canada and America, North America, they've got plenty of snow. I always wondered when I was racing from the 80s to early 2000s that why weren't they better? Of course, there had been Bill Koch, but now they really have got the programs together. And I think especially the Canadians in biathlon and cross-country, it's all about the program of developing the youngsters. They really have spent time and effort on that.
So rather than throwing money at the people who are skiing at the time, throw it at the youngsters who are coming through and then select the best.
Put a sensible program of development together in different regions of the country, and so that they work and push each other along as well.
So 3 laps completed now as they come through the stadium again. We'll give you another update on the timings if we can get the computer to work. You can see this first group. Just the only thing changing here is that Colonia and Nortug are swapping positions. Colonia looks fairly steady. Heikkinen for Finland in bib number 29 has done nothing wrong. He's had a very conservative race so far. He's not interested in leading the way. He wants to conserve as much energy as possible for the last 500 meters, which I think is what this is going to come down to. Unless, of course, the Russians say we have to go from a long way out. And that long way out might well be 2 laps.
Could well be, and without a doubt, it's a conscious decision from Team Russia to not allow too many to get into this part of the race, the sharp end of the race, and the rest of the field are really struggling to close this runaway group back.
Any updates on timings between the leading 7 and the rest of the field?
Yes, we've got the timings coming through, but chasing pack not through the timing wand yet.
Heikkinen has drawn up alongside the 3 Russians, so he might be in one of those thinking in terms of a long run for home. 24 minutes on the clock. Remember, 15 kilometres the total distance. Just trying to check out the winning time last year. 37.51 was Axel Teichmann's time, but the snow conditions were desperately slow. So I think today should be a little bit faster than that. The best gains were made by Eldar Roning, who went from 57th all the way up to 5th position. And I think he could have won it if he hadn't got involved in that fall on the final corner.
Amazing. Well, Gjerdalen is doing well today. He's moved up from 56th to try and conform. I know he was in the top 20 last time I looked. Gjerdalen, in fact, 24th now, but he's still really the same time margin behind that he started.
Yeah, I'm hearing that Jens Philbrick is also making ground, Mike. He started number 47. I think he's almost into the top 15.
Exactly. Well, just outside, he's 16th, but 33 seconds behind. So this lead group have now got a 20-second cushion, so they're breaking the rest of the pack. Instead of that gap closing, it's now extending again.
So it still looks as though it's going to be a sprint finish, but not involving quite as many people as it was last year. There are the chasing pack, and it's Lukas Bauer. Yes, it is Lukas Bauer leading that group with the Kazakh Alexei Poltaranin, World Cup winner in his time, just behind him. So there are still plenty of quality athletes in the chasing group. What about Sweden's Marcus Hellner, Mike, who of course started up amongst the leaders?
Well, for me, he looked exhausted at just 6 kilometres. Just try and get a...
He's wearing bib number 2.
Try and get a reading on him. Oh, there he is. He's still there. He's still 31. There he is in picture, of course. But dropping back slightly now to 16th.
Yeah, and having taken the hat off, I think indicating that he's overheating, which is often an indication that things aren't working to plan.
There's warm temperatures as well, but of course they were aware of that prior to the race. You certainly don't want to wear your usual thermals, or as many of them.
Even Babikov has gone through just over 40 seconds off the leaders, in fact 57 seconds off the leaders. Hellner looking a little bit anxious as he accelerates down towards the left-hand turn, but a couple of deft little steps keeps him on the tracks.
Olsen, Hellner's teammate, has done well from 33rd to 11th, and he's still there in contention at 28 seconds behind.
Now, Mike, I don't think Colonia will be too fussed with winning this one today. He'll obviously be grateful if he picks up some bonus seconds, but he knows his job is just to stay near the front and conserve energy. Northug won't be able to contain himself if he's near the front. When it comes to the finish, he will put in one of his impressive sprints, but I'm not sure that that's the best tactic for winning the Tour de Ski as a whole. Heikkinen in the centre of your picture.
Heikkinen, for me, it's Colonia and Heikkinen. They look at ease in this group at all times. Alex Harvey as well, he's made it look easy. That's big Len Valjas further back in the pack, Canada. Bib 52.
So 3.5 laps completed. They have 1.5, so just over 4 kilometres to go now. And the pace hasn't really picked up, but the competition for position is certainly intensifying. And now it's Maxim Vilikjanin who takes the lead again. He's been sharing the lead with Alexander Legkov throughout. Number 5, which is Ilya Chernozov, I wonder whether he was on the brief to save himself for the sprint, so let the other two to share the lead.
Possibly. Chernozov is a very good finisher. He's got a good turn of pace over the last 1 kilometre. But, well, I'm not sure that there's any in this lead pack who can match Northug. There's in the world who can match Northug if he puts himself in the right place at the right time leading into the final 400 metres.
Well, you saw the two leading Russians there, Vilikjanin and Legkov, both looking over their shoulder to see where Chernozov was positioned. I don't think they want to ski away from him, so if they find they're leaving him behind, they might well come down. And poor old Matti Heikkinen, who's been in the right position throughout, suddenly finds himself getting his skis tangled up. I'm not sure whether that was actually Northug. When he stepped out to the right, he might well have knocked one of Heikkinen's skis. We'll no doubt get a slow-mo of that at some stage. But Heikkinen now finds himself with a few metres to make up. Heikkinen on the right. No, it's a problem of his own making, and all credit to Alex Harvey for staying on his feet and not heading into the forest, because I don't think Heikkinen had seen him. He thought Northug was the back of the pack, and he just stepped straight into Alex Harvey.
The frustrating, very frustrating aspect now for Heikkinen, 29. He's annoyed with himself. There's adrenaline. He needs to try and remain calm to pull this gap back. It's down to 5 seconds.
Yeah, he's lost 5 or 6 seconds as a result of that mistake. But he's lost a lot of energy, and the pace at the front is now starting to split the chasing group as their challenges evaporate. Hellner is not having a happy day. There he is in the black bib, positioned number 2 in the Tour de Ski at the start of today. Looking just a little bit ragged, Mike.
If you look at Hellner's ski poles, the baskets, they're not quite. His baskets are pushing through this wet snow, unlike Northug's.
Yeah, well, just looking at everyone in that leading group to see what baskets they've got on. The Russians have certainly gone for oversized. Northug we've already discussed. Alex Harvey seems to have a nice fat pair on the bottom of his poles. And that is going to be absolutely crucial when it comes to the sprint finish. To me, it looks as though Colonia's got a slightly smaller set on.
Well, that's vital for this final attack next time round into the finish. You can see the snow, how wet that is. Look at the splashing up. The lower part of your race suit is going to be wet at this stage.
So Northug at the back. In front of him, Alex Harvey of Canada. Then we have the first of the 3 Russians, which is Ilya Chernozov, who's not been to the front at all in today's race. Dario Colonia already starting to position himself. He doesn't want to miss any moves made by the Russians, and maybe he feels that this is one of those stages. You pick a point, don't you, on the course, Mike, where you're going to make your break if you're going to go early, and maybe Colonia is sensing that the Russians are going to start now.
I think the Russians just exiting the stadium on the big climb to our checkpoint. Surely that's where Legkov will try and break the rest of the field.
And that, of course, is another tactic that the 3 Russians could use. They could get the first two to make the break and the third one to hold everyone else back, which is why Cologne will have gone ahead of Chernousov, because he doesn't want that to happen.
Cologne for me has looked so perfect throughout this. Heikkinen did, but he's now gone into a bit of overload to pull his fall time back, and now he's a little tense, but he's back in touch. He'll have to try and recover a little now before I'm sure there's going to be an attack at the front soon.
Yeah, I'd like to have a readout of Heikkinen's pulse after his race. Not only did he gain those 10 seconds back very quickly, he did it on an uphill section where the rest was certainly not holding back. So he's overextended himself, I think it would be fair to say, and that might be his only chance of winning today. Well, what a fascinating race. There's so much strength in depth in the men's field, and I think that's where the women have let themselves down a little in recent years. It's all been about Kowalczyk and Björgen once Petra Majdic had retired. This is a different story, isn't it, Mike? Because it's so difficult to pick a winner from here.
Absolutely. Northug is sensing there's going to be an attack. I'm just getting a reading, Patrick, that the bib 29 Heikkinen, there's a jury decision in progress on him now, which in my mind it makes it suggest that he jumped the gun or left his start time early. So there's definitely a jury decision right now discussing what has happened. It wasn't his fault because that was his own fault, so I imagine he maybe went a little early. I can't think of anything else. He was so fast to pull this group back.
Well, unless the Canadians put a protest in immediately after that little tumble, thinking it might have done some damage to Alex Harvey. Really, the only person who got affected was his. Well, the jury decision is still in progress. If we get the results of that before the finish, we'll obviously let you know. So 12.7 kilometres completed, and now they just have a 2.3 kilometre dash for home to complete the 15 kilometres. It's not the quickest 15 kilometres they've ever skied, but it's been in very, very tough conditions. All credit to Lukas Bauer. He's been in no man's land for much of this race, but now joined by the fourth Russian in the field, number 23, that's Sergei Turishev, I should say, who started a full 37 seconds off the pace at the start of this race. Johan Olsson takes up the position as the leading Swede in the race, with the demise of Marcus Hellner just ahead of Nukla of Italy. No sign of the veteran De Centa, Mike. It'll be interesting to seeing how De Centa's getting on.
See if I can find him. I thought he'd have a good race out today.
There's Marcus Hellner now, 57 seconds down. 32 is even Babikov of Canada, who's not made much ground today. Started 40 seconds behind, in fact, and he's lost ground. Over a minute behind the leaders now. Here Dahlen, very good hill climber, but at 26th and 1:14, he's got work to do if he wants to be in contention at the end of the tour. Devon Kershaw, 27th position for the Canadians, but the Canadians are just interested in one man at the moment, and that man is Alex Harvey, who's still involved in the fight at the front.
Giorgio De Centa, he's still in the hunt. He's in 29th, just 1:21 behind.
It would be very sad if one of the leaders lost their opportunity with a fall on this left-hand turn, but each time they go round, the conditions get harder and harder. Cologne getting dangerously close to the edge, and Alex Harvey round safely. Northug, if anyone, looked the least comfortable on that particular corner, but he's round and he's still in the chase. 36 minutes 43 on the clock. Remember, the winning time last year, 37.51. They come up towards the stadium and then they turn left to descend the final hill, which gives them the last uphill climb with that right-hand turn that will lead them into the stadium. And now it looks as though the Russians have picked it up yet again, and it's Alexander Legkov at the front. Alex Harvey's made a move, gone ahead of Dario Colonia, and Petter Northug has not missed a trick. Suddenly, Chernousov has dropped off, and Heikkinen, after his efforts from recovering from the fall, he is now looks in a position where he's just going to have to try and hold on to a top 7.
Legkov, what a strong man. He's tried, he had a look over his shoulder, he wanted to have created some separation, but it hasn't happened. Harvey, Colonia and Northug. Well, Northug's just played around with the pacing. I think he is suffering at the moment. They all must be, after nearly 38 minutes of pushing as they have done.
But the closer we get to the finish, the happier Northug will be, because he knows that if he's only 5 or 6 metres behind, he has a finish in this group that no one can match. I think Colonia is probably the next best sprinter in this group, although the Russians might disagree with that. Legkov, for me, has probably done too much work at the front of the field. Maxim Vilixanin in second, wearing 8. He's very strong. What about Alex Harvey, Mike? What do you make of his last 500-metre finish?
Oh, he's a real possibility, and at no point he hasn't overstretched. He hasn't taken the initiative to lead, so he's fairly comfortable. The two Russians have done so much work at the front. That's Legkov and Vilixanin.
Well, there's some 20 metres now between first and fifth, and Petter Northug needs to be careful, but the fact that his skis are slipping on the uphill will mean that they'll be lightning quick on the flat section, and it's all flat into the stadium here in Oberhof. But look at the margin that has opened up. He's got to be very, very careful indeed. Russia, Canada, Switzerland, Norway, the leading 5, and it is Chernousov who's dropped off this pack. So Heikkinen has gone, Chernousov has gone, Hellner went a long, long time ago as they come into the last 500 metres, the last steep uphill, and Northug's still a long way off the pace at the moment, and it's going to be a very, very tough finish for him. And Legkov charges once again, another injection of speed.
This would be superhuman if Northug can come back from this, but there's only one man that can, and it's Northug. He's trying right now to close it down.
Well, Legkov's sprint has started, and as he rounds the corner, he will see the finish. About 150 metres to go for him, and it looks as though it's going to be a Russia 1-2 with Legkov looking stronger and stronger, and it's going to be very tough for Vilixanin to try and get on terms here. Northug is nowhere to be seen as far as winning is concerned. He may have to settle for third, but if he can beat Dario Colonia, he'll be happy with that. So 1-2 for Russia, and fine style. They deserve that, Mike, because they've done all the donkey work and they've controlled the race from the front. There's a sprint between Colonia and Northug for third. Will Northug hold on? Surely he will. And he'll pick up the 5 bonus seconds, just fractionally ahead of Dario Colonia. Nothing between the two favourites for the Tour so far. And Alex Harvey with a very creditable 5th. He put himself into the perfect position, but he couldn't match the Russians for strength.
That was a phenomenal performance from the two Russians there, Vilixanin and Legkov. I thought Legkov was going to get it, and I thought with the workload that Legkov had taken into that last loop, he led the whole thing. I thought his teammate might let it go.
Yeah, good tactics with those couple of sharp turns into the stadium. If you've got a lead, you're going to have a lead of some 15-20 metres over a group of 5. So they took full advantage of that. It's not the first time we've seen the Russians out-sprint Northug this year, Mike. We saw it in Kusamo.
And I think it's the intensity. The only way to break Northug really is to keep that intensity, that level of intensity for the whole 40 minutes. That's their only chance to damage him, and today it worked, though Northug's still third and still dangerous.
But in a way, fans of Northug may be happy that he didn't turn on the turbochargers over the last 500. He's conserving something maybe for later on. Well, there aren't that many Norwegians to be seen. The Kazakhs are there, the Swedes with Marcus Hellner in 15th place. So Hellner gains a few places on that last lap, and we'll try and bring up the positions a little higher up, and then no doubt try and pick out some of those who've disappointed today. If we can get the top 10, Mike, and just have an update on that. Vilixanin, Legkov, Northug are there. Toby Angra finishes 26th. He started 24, worked his way up the field. So Villigzanen takes the win. Legkoff in second. Nortug third. 5 bonus points for Nortug. Colonia 4. Harvey 5. Chernoszov 5th. Heikkinen, who took the fall on that penultimate lap, in 7th. Lukas Bauer in 8th. Lukas Bauer, Mike, started number 18, some 36 seconds off the leaders. I'm just looking to see who's produced the fastest time today. I think the 50 World Cup points are going to go to Villigzanen. Heikkinen started 29, 40 seconds off the pace, and he's finished 29.3 off the lead.
Although a jury decision, remember, still on Heikkinen at the moment. We haven't heard the outcome of that. And one of the best movers that I've seen in the top bracket from Russia. They're looking really good. Bersmientik started 64th, finishing 20th.
This could well be Andrew Musgrave coming in to finish for Great Britain on the right of your screen, or is it one of the Swedes? No, suit recognition has gone awry. It was Johansson of Sweden, 3:59 behind. The French are pairing up, 28 and 41 skiing together. That was Perilla and Jean-Marc Gaillard. The French still delighted, though, with their success out in Canada. That win from Magnifica. He looks on tremendous form. And that, no doubt, an inspiration for the French women, who did very well in yesterday's prologue, but dropped down a little in the women's pursuit today. Well, a fascinating race. It was always going to be hard, but the Russians were the ones who took it by the scruff of the neck, and they've come away with first, second and fifth. The tail enders just coming across the line now. Pellegrino of Italy, 5 minutes behind in distance terms. That is almost 2 kilometres behind the leaders after a really tough race today. And they've got another 5 stages to go on the tour. 7 races in all over a 9-day period. We finish in a week's time, next Sunday. This time next Sunday, they should be at the top of the Alpe Chemise saying, why did I enter that?
It is the long haul, isn't it? Today will have taken a huge amount of energy out of all of the athletes, and the race wasn't quite like maybe or as happened the last 4 or 5 years, where it's a huge pack of 30 people for most of the race, a little tactical. Today it was an all-out assault to try and keep that pace strong, which the Russians led throughout.
Well, I can't see any Americans in the top positions today, in the top 39-40, unless I've missed one. Canada, of course, have got Babikoff at 19, but a wonderful run from Alex Harvey. He's come in 5th position. Now, there's Andrew Musgrave finishing 87th, 6:15 behind. Mike will work out the percentages and let you know whether he's qualified to continue on the tour. Just 7 seconds ahead of Andrew Young. Good race by Andrew Young. He's had ups and downs over the last few years, but that's nice to see him putting in a fine performance.
Yeah, the 2 Brit lads, so 6:22 behind and 6:15. They're definitely safe to continue the tour. I'll make that about, 11% behind. Probably less, 9-10%.
$50 World Cup points for Villigzanen, today's winner, because he has produced the quickest time. Not only has he crossed the line first, always slightly confusing in the pursuit, Mike. You can finish 5th, but still get the 50 World Cup points for being fastest. And in a race that turns out to be tactical, which is always the case when you have a pursuit, I think that's slightly bizarre.
It does seem a little strange. I mean, but those are the rules. We all know what they are heading into this one. But when you look at the teams there in the top 10, we've got 4 Russians. The Russians, certainly with the Olympics coming up next February, they've completely got themselves organised, got the best coaches in, and the best, I think, significantly, they've bought in. They realised the weaknesses were not just the ski structures, but the skis themselves. A lot of the athletes changing ski brands and getting the right weighting of ski, the right profile, if you like, and all of those expertise has made a little difference, certainly in the men's field.
It certainly seems to be. They've got strength in numbers. That's good news, not just for the Nations Cup, but should one or two of them get ill, they've still got some class athletes to take their place. Number 96, that's Martin Müller of Denmark. If I'm not mistaken, he comes from Greenland, actually. Is that true? All the Greenlanders race for... in fact, no. On the biathlon front, it's all the competitors in the past, many of them coming from Greenland. The Danes do most of their training in Norway.
Yes, I think Müller does base himself. He's going very wide on this corner, but that's to try and get less deep snow. It's well soggy on the inside. A lot of support still out there.
He's getting more support than anyone else.
Good for him. It's not a bad time when you look at the 15 kilometres in these conditions. Just looking for the next Norwegian, of course, Northug in third place. We have to go all the way down to 22nd position for Gjerdalen, toward Gjerdalen, and then further down to 31st for Østensen.
Yeah, Norway's domination coming to an abrupt halt. The days where they would get 4 or 5 in the top 10 have long gone, and that's it's got to be good news for the sport. It's nice to see the Czech Republic, who are up here in the top positions. We've got the Czech Republic with Lukas Bauer in 8th. Sweden, of course, you'd expect to see them in the top 10. They've just got Johan Olsen in there today. Finland, Canada, Switzerland, Norway, Russia also represented in the top 10. And Russia, without a doubt, the most dominant nation at the moment. And so, finally, Martin Müller of Denmark completes his run, and he's exactly 10 minutes off the pace of the leaders. So that could be the end of his tour.
I think so. That is certainly over 20% behind the lead at the moment. Maybe the end of his journey in the Tour de Ski.
Well, let's have a look at the main characters today. It was Petter Northug who started first, having won the prologue yesterday. Did he go fast enough on the first lap? I'm not sure he hurt the Russians much on the first lap, and therefore was unable to stay with them for the sprint at the end. But an interesting tactic from Petter Northug, Mike, still jostling up and down the pack. Alexander Legkov, second place today.
It was a brutal performance from Legkov. He did a lot of the hard work out there to lead any one of these races. It's not the best place to be, but he knew he had to keep the pace strong. Just missing out by what, a toenail at the end.
Well, I come back to what I said earlier on. The Russians look so strong, particularly in the upper body. There's no doubt they've been working on their sprinting speed, realising that if you have a mass start or a pursuit, you have to have some sort of sprint if you want to win it. And they're in it to win it, and especially for next year. This is all about their preparation for Sochi 2014. Feel a little sorry for Legkov on the left of the screen. The form finally went in the last 50 metres and allowed Vilikzanin to come through and claim the win. Well, a great race, and they deserve a day off tomorrow. They've got 48-hour recovery now before the next stage of the Tour de Ski, and that will be a sprint event. Let's have a look at the final results. Stars opposite Vilikzanin and Legkov's name. No explanation for that at the moment. I hope there's not going to be a disqualification there. We got one on Yax and Hellner. All these could be about going off too early, or is it possibly a photo finish? Could well be a photo finish that has yet to be decided. You've got a chance, Mike. Legkov might have got it.
It was close. But what a race, and it was a completely different aspect to the normal pursuit racing, which is in the men's field, huge pack racing. It wasn't that this time, just a small lead pack throughout. But certainly there's still a jury decision on position 7, which is Matti Häkkinen. He's 29.3 seconds behind at the finish, but maybe that will change.
Well, Lukas Bauer finished 7th last year. He's finished 8th this year. Number 8 there, that is Maxim Villigjanin. And it looks as though they have finally made the decision on the photo finish.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the winner's ceremony for the Fiesmann Phase Tour de Ski Performance Bike Club Sportswear 2012-2013, the Gentleman's 15K Pursuit. Please welcome the stage winner, representing the Russian Federation, Maxim Villigjanin.
So, congratulations to Villigjanin. A good payday for him. He, of course, goes into the red bib as the leader of the Tour de Ski after today's work. Northug looks as though he'd rather be in bed recovering.
Or is he completely irritated that he didn't set himself up for that final sprint?
No, I think maybe tired. I think he looked as though he was a little short on grip wax, and it makes a classic race very, very painful indeed. The Russians certainly look to have good skis on the flat and the uphills as well.
Only Villigjanin's third victory, so it's going to mean an awful lot to him, and especially day 2 of the Tour de Ski. And it means a lot to the Russian team as well. This is going to give them all a little more confidence, surely.
So another 1,000 Swiss franc bonus for holding the red bib, and he will race in the sprint on Tuesday, with the red bib. Is he going to be quick enough to hold on to that, Mike? I think it might be a ferocious sprint event.
It's going to be a really close fight for this sprint race, and the magnet kind of goes towards Northug and Cologne, I think, especially because it's for Cologne down in Münstertal in Switzerland for the first time.
Well, the man with the superhuman sprint, unable to produce it today. 5 bonus seconds for him. We're just puzzling over why Northug has been given the black bib, which usually indicates the second position in the Tour de Ski.
Yes, with Legkov, in fact, no, I can't quite get that. Legkov, of course, was third yesterday. He's set off third today.
Well, the only explanation I've got is Villigjanin and Legkov the same time today. But, of course, once you've applied the bonuses, that doesn't happen. Well, we'll look forward to your company in 2 days' time for the first of the genuine sprints in the Tour de Ski. That's going to be stage number 3. Of course, next we have action from the 4 hills. After yesterday's qualification, it's the first 4 hills contest, and David Goldstrom on hand to cover that event. From Mike and myself, thanks for your company, and we'll see you in 2 days' time. Goodbye for now.